My name is Marcus, as you can see on the slide. In case you didn't know, I don't have a name tag on. But if you forget, just look at the slide. None has changed. So we want to talk about a couple things. One of the things we do want to talk about is debt stacking. I have a trivia question for you. If education is expensive, what is more expensive than education? Close. Ignorance. People don't know. And that's one of the things we do in Primerica is we tell people about things that they don't know. Raise your hand. Who is talking to you about getting out of debt? Scotty touched on credit cards and all these different things. Everybody wants to sell you a product. Everybody wants you to spend money. But who's telling you how to stop spending your money or wasting your money, get out of debt, and invest smartly? Primerica is. One of the things that we talk about is it's a process called debt stacking. And this is a typical, actually probably not a typical person at this point. That's probably atypical. We can relate to having more than that, possibly. But you have retail card, credit cards, car loan, mortgage, typical debts that you would find in a house. One thing that we do at Primerica is we show that GPS, we take all of these things that you owe and that you're paying out, and it tells you where you are. Well, where these people are, it would take them 23 years to pay off their debt at $214,000 in interest paid. Now, who could use $214,000? You could. But that's not what you think about. You don't think about 20 years later. You don't think about 10 years later. You're just like, oh, I got that 2.9% intro APR. That's great. But that only lasts 6 months. And then you get hooked. So one of the things we do in Primerica is we teach people you want to pay one off, right? $220. We'll start with retail card number 1. You pay that off. And then what you want to do is, each debt is paid off, you apply that same amount that you were paying to the very next debt. You said, no, I got $220. I'm going to Kohl's. No! Do not go to Kohl's. Collect $200. But what you want to do is, you're already in the habit of paying that money out. And so what you want to do is take that same amount and pay it towards the next debt. So whereas on credit card number 2, you were paying $353, now you're at $573. You're going to pay that off much sooner. And then the trend goes on. Each time you pay off one of those loans, you take that amount you originally were paying with the other debt, and you roll it to the next. You see how that stacking occurs? But nothing's changed. It's not costing you more money. But you're getting out of debt a lot faster. And you're actually saving money. Why? Because you're saving on that interest. So we'll get to where you eventually end up, and so on. The trend continues, and you do the same thing until you get to that last thing, that mortgage. So you're paying $2,700 a month on your mortgage. Once you complete this process, you'll have your debt paid off in 9 years at age 44, 14 years sooner, and you saved $130,000. Wow. Now, but again, most people don't think about that. Nobody's ever told you that. Who's ever pointed out to you in black and white? No one until tonight. So these are the things that we want you to keep in mind going forward when we talk about Primerica and what Primerica can do for you and how Primerica can help you and your family. Once these debts are paid off, you would then take that amount that Scotty was talking about and you want to invest that at a retirement age 67. That's $2.4 million at a 9% rate. And I think that's a nice, I mean, I could probably use $2.4 million. Some of you can get by with less or more. I think I'd be all right with $2.4 million. Do financial companies want you to know this?
No.
No. What's the only one that does?
Primerica.
All right. Debt resolution. This is essentially doing the same thing, helping people out with debt. Before they had $56,000 worth of debt with a monthly payment $1,600, as you can see. It takes them 50 years. And this is one thing that I want to point out. People don't think about the time it takes you to pay off. I mean, 58 years? 58 years paying something off every month, day in and day out, month in and month out. That's a long time to be making payments. Somebody needs to pay me for 58 years. That's what I'm saying. Pay myself. But we'll get them help with Freedom Financial. They can get their monthly payments reduced. They save tons in interest, and they're out of debt a lot sooner. How many have heard of the rule of 72? Sometimes this is called the banker's rule. Anybody ever heard of the rule of 72? What does that mean? That means you have a lump sum of money that you want to invest or that you want to save, and then you take the interest rate from whatever financial institution, and you take 72 divided by that interest rate, and it tells you about how often your money will double. Everybody follow that? Mm-hmm. So if I have $10,000 and I invested 3%, it would take 24 years, 72 divided by 3% gives me 24. It would take 24 years to get $20,000. It would take me 48 years to get to 40. The same with, oh, back up. Don't you do that. We'll sit down later. The same with 6%. Now, clearly, 160 is more desirable than 40, right?
Yes.
But still, at 48, can you retire on $160,000? It'd be nice now. Get you a nice ride. But when you retire, you got to think about how many more years you're going to live and possible medical expenses, and maybe you want to travel, maybe you want to go see the grandkids or the great-grandkids. There are other things, there are other priorities in your life at that period of time, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to think about paying bills and mortgage and credit cards and retail cards. It's like, I want to relax because I've done that my whole life. Right. So one of the things we do with Primerica is we teach you how to find these good interest rates with some of the products that we offer. So if you take the same $10,000, who wants to take a guess at 48 years getting a 12% rate of return, what that's going to be? Take a guess.
1.2 million?
1.2. I got 1.2 million. Anybody wants to outdo 1.2 million?
2 million. Right,
got 2 million. Got 2 million. 2 million twice. That's 4 million.
5
million. There we go. So it doubles. $2.5 million. Without introducing us at Primerica to your friends and family, would they ever hear about this?
No.
And the reason you're hearing about it tonight is because why? Somebody introduced you to Primerica, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. So this could be you in this particular situation. Both the husband and wife invested $333 a month from 1970 to 1990. That's 20 years. They invested a total amount of $160,000 in 20 years. They withdrew, so they reached the age of retirement, and they began to withdraw. They withdrew $50,000 a year for the next 20 years, taking out a total of $1,050,000. Anybody want to take a stab at how much money you think they had left in their fund today?
I owe you.
I owe you.
0.
Yeah.
Not a lot, because they only put in 160 and took out almost 10 times that, 9 times that. How much is going to be left?
Not much.
Not much. How about 1.3 million? Still. 1.3 million. I don't know about you, but I like the sound of illions. When I retire, I don't want thousands, I want illions on the end of my numbers, right? Who wants more zeros to the left of the decimal? Right? Okay then. Next I'm going to bring in Katie. She's already talked to you. She's going to finish out the rest of this, but thank you for your time.
All right.